Alright, so here's my take on the whole Dragon Age thing. Not that anyone asked for it, but well, even so, here it is. First off, I'm a big fan of the franchise. Yeah, ever since the first one, I played the heck out of that game, created multiple characters and all. I played the second one and love my hawk too. And I didn't pay much attention to the internet criticism about Dragon Age 2 back in the day, and I'm glad for it. I enjoyed the game purely for what it was, and it was good to me. Dragon Age 2 was awesome, I really like it, and the combat too. Inquisition is arguably my favorite. I really liked that they went back to the roots a bit while keeping some of the action combat for those who liked it from Dragon Age 2. I love the world of Thedas and Bioware's world building. Man, their talent is second to none on that. That being said, I think it's safe to say that Dragon Age is possibly my favorite RPG franchise of all time. It's a series I've always held near and dear to my heart. So, when the first news of Dreadwolf came back out in 22, I guess, I was super psyched. I read everything I could and scrutinized every screenshot. I liked what I saw, despite some saying that the combat looked more action oriented, but I didn't mind that too much. Anywho, years passed and we got the reveal trailer for Dragon Age The Veilguard. From the very first look, I had concerns. I'm not going to talk about all the recent drama and all that, at least not for now, because the internet has enough of it as I see, and that stuff just tires me, honestly. Instead, I want to talk about design and concept because that was the first sign that something was wrong. And just a quick disclaimer here, everything I'm about to say is purely my opinion, okay? It doesn't mean that the game is objectively good or bad. There's no such thing when the subject at hand is art, and I consider video games as art, at least in part, I mean. Or doesn't mean that I'm saying that someone should or should not buy the game. I don't mean to throw shade at anyone or blame anyone for anything. Well, right or wrong, this is just how I perceive things, and I'm voicing my opinion. Good, good. Let's go. So yeah, regarding Dragon Age The Veilguard's trailer. Yeah, let's start with the trailer. Somehow, from the overall tone of the trailer, I could feel they switched gears abruptly. Suddenly, the story about Darkspawn and Demon Lords took a turn to look more lighthearted, I think, perhaps to appeal to a broader audience, which is always a sin, maybe, I don't know. I don't know what they were going for, but all I know is that I felt this was heading in a direction that possibly wouldn't please me very much. All the cheerful characters with Fortnite-like designs, some Pixar art style animation, and the plasticky look on their faces, and again, that word, the tone. Overall tone of everything, it just didn't sit very well with me. All those splashing names on the screen like an action movie, it all felt so not Dragon Age to me. I'm not one to complain and start criticizing at first sign of change, right? There's always those people that you can't change anything, your change that is mine. But I'm not like that. But this one felt really weird. Then I saw the promotional art and it all looked too purple to me. And don't get me wrong, I love purple, it's one of my favorite colors, but it was all too many highlights and I couldn't stop thinking about where they were going with that. I remember reading the news a while back that during development they were considering making this game a live service thing, and that put the real dread in Dreadwolf for me. Those were some grim news indeed. Luckily, they seem to have steered away from that direction, probably due to backlash from fans and maybe the media as well. I'm not sure, I don't remember exactly how it went. It's a while ago, and I'm just saying things off the top of my head here. So bear with me if I don't have all the details. I don't want to do the research, I'm too lazy. Even so, I was glad they moved on from that. But looking at how the game looks now, it's clear they went for a more kid-friendly design. When you look at the characters, everything looks so clean and constantly bathed in a purple or a pink light, as if they were trying to make the darkness less dark. Monsters are more cartoony and less scary. I'm sorry, but since when was I not supposed to be scared of a demon lord? Or maybe Corypheus? Do you guys remember Corypheus? That was a sick design. He was, sickly looking. He was asymmetrical. He was mysterious and scary. These guys in Thedas are supposed to bring demons into the world, so how the heck do they look so tame? I don't understand why they try this, but well, yeah, it made me sad. The only good thing is that my boy Varric was still in the action, so that's a plus. It was nice seeing Solus again too, if only to calm my weary heart and reassure me they didn't abandon the original storyline or completely ignore the cliffhanger they left at the end of Inquisition. So by now, all I still had hope for was the story. Since Solus was there, and Varric was too, and the world is technically still Thedas, I felt I shouldn't be too worried. BioWare has always been aces at storytelling and world building. Even if the design had gone to hell, or the opposite of hell, I mean, it should be hell, but well, you know what I mean. The gameplay felt a bit more action-oriented, and I have no problems with that. If it's a good action combat, so I don't mind. Dragon Age 2 was action-oriented as well, and I liked it. I'm not one to yell at the clouds at the slightest sign of change. And the HUD, well, I'm not even going to start talking about the HUD because I absolutely hate it. It's hideous and there's no redeeming it. But since I promised to keep this as emotion-free and level-headed as possible, thinking back, I don't know if I promised that at the beginning, but still, I intend to keep it emotion-free and level-headed as much as possible. So I refrain from talking about the HUD. The UI, the silly logo, the promo art, all that crap that looks terrible. Let's just say I simply dread it. Get it? Dread? Me smart wordplay. Okay, where was I? Right, storytelling. So apparently it's not that good for some people. I've heard plenty of criticism about it, but here's my take. Strictly about the storytelling, it's not terrible. It's not bad even. It's just not what we are using. It's not what we are used to getting from BioWare. If this were any other video game publisher, most of those critics might have given it a pass. Possibly, maybe, but BioWare, the bar is too high for them. And they have set that bar high themselves. We're used to making difficult decisions in their games. With Bioware, you're accustomed to seeing the story carefully set up over its length just to put you face to face with a choice that you didn't want to make. But as the story progresses, you start to feel how inevitable that choice is. And when the moment finally comes, you find yourself staring at your screen, cycling through those options, unsure of what to do, feeling the weight of your decision and its consequences. That's the Bioware we know. That's what they are used to do again and again. So, well, in Veilguard, just like everything else in this game, that has been toned down a lot. Consequences don't matter that much, at least not as much as we are used to from a Bioware game, as I said. And sometimes you have to make a decision, but all the options kind of look the same. So you're left thinking, is this really a decision then? You know? If all the options seem to lead to the same outcome, or even worse, if all the options just feel like different spelling of the same choice, it's frustrating. Sometimes. It's not always like that. Don't get me wrong. But, you know, one time is too much. The worst thing a game like this can do, a game with terrific world building, years of a compelling story, and a cast of incredible and interesting characters, is to fail at immersion. It all boils down to this one thing. The moment you feel you're not part of the story, the spell is broken. The main goal of these RPGs is to make us feel part of the story. Dragon Age, in my opinion, is a franchise that has always done this masterfully. So did Mass Effect. Though I must admit I'm more of a fantasy gal, it draws me in easier than sci-fi, even though Mass Effect is incredible at its own right. But in any case, the ambience and atmosphere have always been there in Dragon Age. The magic made me feel like I was part of the story, and while you're playing, you forget about the NPCs, the maps, the models, and such. To me, those were my companions, and I was an Inquisitor or a Grey Warden. And it's just, it isn't just nostalgia talking, okay? No, not long ago I replayed Inquisition again, and it felt the same. It just took me a while to achieve that level of immersion. I had to recap the story and get used to the controls again, but it didn't take long. Okay, after a while, I felt like an Inquisitor, and I, Amy, was closing rifts and trying to save Thedas from demons. Oh man, I miss that feeling. Luckily, there are other RPGs that can give me that same feeling again. Not everything in the world of modern game releases has to suck, okay, guys? To be honest, look at smaller studios, developers, and the indies. Those guys are cooking. But I didn't come here to look for other games to fill the void. I came here for Thedas. I came here for Dragon Age. Well, there are a few things the game does right though. The ambience is cool. The lighting used to bother me a bit, but after a while, you get used to it. Animations are well done. Sometimes a bit too flashy for my taste, but again, that's just my taste, and that's just a stylistic choice. Some people like it, others are thrown off by it. Me, personally, I adapted. Coupled with the combat style and overall pacing of the game, I think they match. Okay, so that's a good thing. They just don't match the overall vibe of what a Dragon Age game is supposed to be, and the tone you'd expect for that story. I think spell effects are cool. Voice acting, okay, voice acting is top notch, as always, thankfully, but that doesn't come as a surprise though. if you choose the right actors, good ones, I mean, and they always choose good actors, it's a more, it's a pure art form. Pardon me if I say something stupid right now, okay? Then it's a pure art form when you compare it to design, like level design or character design, game design, and those things. And I mean pure in the sense that the bigwigs and the guys in ties sitting in boardrooms have less of a say on a voice actor's performance than they do on the game's overall aesthetics. They want something that would sell like Fortnite and be accessible like Valorant. They'd say they want the gameplay more action focused to resemble something like Overwatch. Notice I am only mentioning online service games here. When it comes to voice acting, it's just an actor on the mic performing their art. The suits don't have much of a say or too much of an influence on it as much. That's what I meant. So please don't get me wrong. I don't mean that level design and character design is not art. I draw a lot myself. I used to make character art, so I know what I'm talking about a bit here. So that's what I mean, okay? Please don't throw chairs at me. One thing that got severely affected, though, oh my god, here we go again with the cons. But, well, it's the writing. Holy crap, man, it feels uninspired, and it gives you an underlying sense that there's a subtext to everything, something subtle, but that constantly grows over time. The more you play, the more you notice it. And suddenly, it's more important to talk about personal identity than it is to save the world from an invasion of demons. And now we get to the part I tried my best to avoid talking about. But it's impossible at this point. I'm sorry, because it's part of the game. It's what the game is. I'd go as far as to say it's even part of the plot, or the side plot for that matter. Yeah, you guessed it. It's the inclusion, diversity, representation thing. Unfortunately, I know, everyone rants about it. So sad, man. Yeah, I know, everybody rants about it. Girl bosses suck. Yeah, and they do, actually. I'm a girl. I'll admit it, girl bosses suck. You guys are right. You guys have always been right. Me personally, when I see that girl boss thing on the screen, I cringe hard. Just to make things clear, I am a rainbow colored person, so to speak, as they say. I used to dye my hair purple, now it's more of a blue. Anyway, you get the picture. I don't feel comfortable talking about myself. I just mentioned this so you guys know where I'm coming from on this subject. So enough about me. Anyway, back to the game. This inclusion thing annoys me. Like, really. The world of fantasy should be totally detached from the real world. For Andraste's sake, we have a big ass archdemon flying in the sky and turning us all to crispy chicken. And you think the most important thing to address is the sexual identity? In the name of the maker, what kind of nonsense is this? Remember that I said what I said about immersion? About dispelling the magic? That's exactly what I'm talking about here. That's exactly what's happening. Imagine you're on a quest in the forest, your group senses something mysterious in the bushes. Suddenly, the rogue cocks an arrow, and the barbarian grips his great axe tighter, muscles tense. The atmosphere is tense. Then, a random banter with some lesson directed towards the player rather than anything else, and this just breaks the magic. This is not a Thetis thing. This is a real world thing that does not belong in this world of fantasy. You know what I mean? So, to make my point clearer, remember Iron Bull? Yeah, the Iron Bull, the axe-wielding, ass-kicking, trouble-stirring, Kunari ambassador of badassery? Did he ever care if your character was male or female? That's it. That's how you do it. There was a character in Inquisition, if memory doesn't fail me, the name was Grem. There's a short dialogue about Grem. People referred to Grem as him, even though Grem was apparently a woman. Grem was a soldier in Ironbow's company, and when you asked the Minister of Skull Crushing himself about Grem, do you remember what he said? He said, "Grem is just Grem to me."
I'd like to know more about Krem.
He's a good soldier, and a better second in command. The troops need someone to complain to when I'm being a hard ass. He's good for that.
You don't have a problem with him being from Tevinter,
Nah,
but you hate the Vince.
sure, but he's not a Vint. He's just Krem. I can get worked up about a group or a nation just fine, but people, it's too much work to hate them one by one.
You don't have any problems with him being a woman.
He's not a woman. Look, I've got horns. You can shoot fire out of your ass. We're probably not the best people to go around deciding what's normal. Krem's a good man. I don't give a nug's ass that it's a little harder for him to piss standing up.
And that's it. No big deal. He's all like, we respect the guy for who he is, and that's all. As long as he remains loyal and fights alongside us, I don't care. To Iron Bull, he just needs to trust Grem, and that's good enough for him. The discussion doesn't develop much beyond that. That's how it should be. Your identity is not the most important thing in the world, man. All in all, here's how I see it. The whole representation thing has backfired badly on the community, if we ever were a community that wanted to be represented. Not only were we misrepresented, but I think we've been overly represented, to the point that people are sick of having agendas shoehorned into our beloved stories. It's gotten to the point where entire franchises are being ruined for the sake of this diversity thing. I hate to speak that word. I won't say that. Okay. What diversity you mean? We have characters who are literally gray-skinned, 7-foot-tall giants with ginormous horns, who are already looked down upon by society. Is that not diverse enough? What about the social dilemma with the elves, who are treated like second-class citizens by humans and have to choose between living within the walls of human cities where they're treated like trash, or returning to the Dalish elves, who would probably treat them like trash also? Isn't that a way more effective and if not real representation of our social dilemmas? I think that tells a much better story and serves as a more refined piece of entertainment than a boring, uninspired, forced monologue about some random character that they throw out in a cutscene, pretending to be talked to others on the screen while we can't help but notice that the same character is fighting hard not to look at the camera and wink at us. By now, forgive me if I sound passionate or if it seems like I'm rambling. I am passionately rambling about a game I used to love, okay? With modern technology, better graphics, and all the innovations we could have been using to push gameplay forward. I know, integrating new mechanics to improve the player experience. What do we get? We're talking about real-world problems that aren't even real problems to begin with. These are made-up problems. The only made-up problems I want to think about are if I should drink from that goblet to become a Grey Warden, and if the world will be overrun by Darkspawn if I don't. Can I trust Duncan or not? I don't know. And don't get me started on what about strong female characters? Dude, have you ever seen Morgan? One of the coolest RPG characters ever. She's in my, top 5 for sure. Too serious for you? Too witchy? Maybe you prefer the ass-kicking loudmouth type like Sarah? Sarah was never quite a gentlest girl. I love that song. Now, that's a badass elf. So you don't like those, prefer someone more centered. with a straightforward code of honor. Remember Meredith? I think yeah, she was a badass too. So I think I made my point on strong women in this franchise. There's nothing more than needs to be said on that. So, to wrap this up and to try to end this on a more positive note, one thing we can be sure big corporations hate is losing money. And seeing one successful franchises driven to the ground almost overnight due to mishandling, especially in video games, this media that we love and that corporate heads don't understand very well, is something they'll take note of. Worst of all, they're struggling with a language they don't speak, which is the modern audiences. And I say that with big quotes, okay? Because it's become an unpleasant buzzword lately, and I don't want to be misunderstood on that. Video games are relatively recent form of media compared to music, cinema, and TV. They've grown exponentially in a short time, and corporations haven't had the time to fully understand them. Instead, they sank their shark teeth into big studios and franchises as a way to make more money using this new profitable medium. That's just my understanding, okay? Again, I'm no businesswoman, I'm not good with money, and I don't understand how big corporations or the suits think. All I know is they hate losing money, and that's exactly what's happening right now. So, either one of these things can be true. First, they'll realize the strategy is failing, pull a 180 on it, and video games will become the testosterone fueled, overwhelmingly violent, absurdly over the top destruction mayhem showdowns. I miss ya, Duke. Or this is a deliberate attack on video games to drive the industry to the ground because the old white-haired men in boardrooms don't know how to handle it and would rather see it destroyed than not have it as a tool for profit. This is my my conspiracy theory for you. Well, that's my take on things. What do I know about the industry? Nothing. What are my sources? None. It was revealed to me in a delusion. So that's all for today, guys. Please note, I speak from the heart here, okay? My intent is not to criticize. I'm not a video game critic. I don't have the knowledge or experience for that. I'm just a fan who holds some worlds and stories very dear to her heart and is passionate about the stuff she loves. So forgive my rambling. I gotta go look for a new favorite franchise. See ya, guys. Bye. Take care.